Back to yet another Snap update. I know it feels like we are doing these basically every single day at this point because there's just so much news rolling out so quickly. So today we're going to go over what the courts said, what's happening now. We have a lot of ground to cover before we get into the Q&A. But do know that Kaylee is with me today. She's reading all of the messages, and we are going to do our best to make sure that all of your questions get answered before we get off of here today. So, as you know, we are in the middle of what is rapidly becoming the or the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The longest one was 35 days. I believe we're probably going to cross that line on Wednesday. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of negotiating happening based on the news that I'm seeing. So at this point, you've probably seen a lot of headlines and a lot of conflicting information about what's going on with Snap. Unfortunately, it's really hard to track what the newest updates are in this era where breaking news is relentless and algorithms don't show you things in chronological order anymore. So everything we're going to talk about today is accurate as of today. We were frantically assembling this information until just a few minutes ago to make sure that it was up to date for you. So at the end here, we're also going to talk about an app that's giving out $50 in cash to certain Snap users. That is really awesome, and I'm excited to share that with you. But first, I want to go over what's going on. So, as you know, SNAP is funded by the federal government. The federal government takes that money, they give it to the states. The states take that money and divvy it out to the people. So, until Friday, the USDA was maintaining that they couldn't do that, that the money wasn't there. The government shutdown was preventing that. And if you watched our live stream on Friday, you know that the courts intervened and said, no, that's what the contingency fund is for. You need to do that. And so over the weekend, everyone was trying to figure out exactly how this emergency order was going to work and what was going to happen now. So they did make some decisions. And so shortly after the ruling came out, the president went on Truth Social and said that, he'd love to send out the money if the courts would tell him how. And so then the judge issued a written order. It had previously just been a verbal order. And we got this 7-page statement about what the judge said should happen. And I thought this was really interesting because he goes into a great deal of detail here. So the judge said, there is no question that the congressionally approved contingency funds must be used now because of the shutdown. In fact, the president during his first term issued guidance indicating that these contingency funds are available if SNAP funds lapse due to the government shutdown. And I love that because I've been saying that all along. I'm glad that that was acknowledged in the order. He also said that the government should, within its discretion, find the additional funds necessary beyond the contingency funds to fully fund the November SNAP payments. So, in the judge's view, they should have found the money to fully fund it. And he specifically mentioned the Section 32 fund, which has $23 billion available. Now, in a previous video, someone was asking me, why I said there was two contingency funds, and that's because SNAP has a contingency fund that's much smaller, and then Section 32 is a separate contingency fund that's used for a wide array of nutrition programs, and that's what they've been taking money from to keep WIC going. So this is what the judge said should happen. We're going to get into it in just a minute because this isn't what they're going to do. Spoiler alert there. But the judge was encouraging them to find a way to issue the full balance, and he gave them deadlines, right? So if they were going to send the full amount, it had to be by today. If they were going to send a partial amount, they had to have a plan in place by Wednesday. Before we move on from this, I want to highlight one thing that I am not seeing reported really anywhere else. And I dug through a lot of headlines today. At the very end of his order, he also specifically forbade the government from ending certain ABOD waivers. Now, ABOD stands for Able Bodied Adults Without Dependents. And I don't know if you saw the news, but a little while ago, the USDA moved to end New York's waiver early. They said, oh, no, you've got plenty of jobs available now. You don't need this. We're just going to take that waiver away. And that had led to a different lawsuit, which has now been dropped because this judge ruled that they could not do that. So I thought that was really interesting too, that that was also addressed in this order that I read earlier today. And of course, full disclosure, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a researcher, and I'm just telling you what I read in it. This is not legal advice. So anyway, so that order went out over the weekend. And then I saw this response. I did see before this response was filed that they said they would not appeal, which I think was comforting to a lot of us because that was kind of the assumption, you know, was that they were going to appeal and this was going to be moot, and that was the big fear. But Treasury Secretary Bissent said over the weekend that they weren't going to appeal it. And then we saw this get filed, I believe, earlier today from the USDA to the court because they had told the administration that they had to come back and give them their plan, basically. And in that plan, they said quite clearly that the Food and Nutrition Service intends to deplete the SNAP contingency funds completely and provide reduced SNAP benefits for November of 2025. So this is when the news kind of goes south a little bit. They said that there's gonna be administrative expenses they have to accommodate for, and they're going to spend the remaining $4.65 billion to cover 50% of eligible households' current allotments. So even though you're probably seeing a lot of headlines and a lot of news come out saying, "Yes, you're going to get SNAP in November," which is great, I do want you to be aware that the federal government is saying you're going to get about half of what you normally do. Now, half is better than 0, don't get me wrong. I'm very, very glad to hear that they're at least going to be putting out half, but it's not the whole thing, and I think it's really important that you know that before we move on to the rest of this, and there is a little bit more bad news in here before we get to that $50 cash offer and some of the happier stuff we have at the end for you. So, um, in this response, the USDA also said, this quote, "This means that no funds will remain for new SNAP applicants certified in November, disaster assistance, or as a cushion against the potential catastrophic consequences of shutting down SNAP entirely." End quote. I'm not entirely sure what that last bit means, but I don't like that it's in there. I'll be honest with you. But basically, they're saying that the SNAP contingency fund is going to be completely empty. Now, the judge had told them that, they should look for other funding so that they can issue full benefits. But the USDA pretty conclusively shut the door on using Section 32 funds. They said that if they did that, it would have too much of a negative impact on the child nutrition programs, such as National School Lunch Program, National School Breakfast Program, summer food service programs, and summer EBT, also known as Sunbucks. So they said that they are not willing to tap into that reserve in order to issue full SNAP benefits this month, which is why they will only be issuing half. Okay. Um, and then it gets a little bit worse, if I'm honest with you, and I'm always honest with you, and I hate bringing you guys bad news, but what it says is they note that states are will likely experience procedural difficulties in getting the benefits out in a timely manner and in the correct amounts. Because what they're saying is that the USDA has to give the states these new issuance tables, and the states are going to have to recalculate benefits for all 42 million people who receive SNAP, which, as you can imagine, is going to be a big undertaking. Now, this response also said that states are required to recalculate the benefits, notify SNAP households of the reduction, handle requests for fair hearings from SNAP households related to the reduction, and they're also required to continue accepting applications and doing all of that other stuff in there as well. So states are going to have a lot going on with a lot less funding than normal, and they have a lot to figure out, basically. And then they continued and pointed out that among all of the different states, they all use different systems, and some of them are decades old, which is kind of frankly ridiculous, in my opinion. But they're saying that it is, quote, "unclear how many states will complete the changes in an automated manner with minimal disruption versus manual overrides or computations that could lead to payment errors and significant delays." Oh, the sound is fading in and out? Hang on, they showed me where to fix that. Give me 1 second here to fix that audio. Is this better? If you guys can let me know if if the audio changes I just made are improving that please let me know because I want to make sure that you guys are able to hear me clearly. Thank you for noticing that in the chat, Kaylee. I really appreciate that. So Kaylee's paying attention. If you're still having a hard time with the audio, let her know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue. So basically, they're saying that because of the old computer systems, some of this math may have to be done manually, which obviously is going to take some time, which is why they also said, quote, for at least some states, USDA's understanding is that the system changes states must implement to provide the reduced benefit amounts will take anywhere from a few weeks to up to several months. That's not good. I'm sure that I don't have to tell you that. So all of these articles and videos and headlines you're seeing that are telling you that your November benefits are coming, I mean, it's true, but it may not be in November, which is pretty significantly problematic for a lot of people. I know Kansas said that under the best of circumstances, if they were told they could go with the numbers they already had calculated, it would take 3 days to get those payments out to people, which would mean you'd still have a solid chance of getting it possibly by the end of this week or the middle of next. But that's not what they're doing. They're making them recalculate all of those numbers. So nobody knows exactly what that timeline is going to look like yet, because the USDA has to create the computation table and give it to the states, and then the states have to figure out how that's even going to work, run all the numbers, notify you about the numbers, send it to the issuers. The issuers have to get it on your cards. There's a lot of steps between where we're sitting right now and getting that money into your hands. So I just want you to understand that, because I know a lot of people are probably getting really excited about those headlines, and I'm excited about those headlines, and I want the news to be better. But the reality is, even though those SNAP payments are coming, they're going to be about half what they should be, and they're going to be late. And we will be, as states have time to figure out what this means and what their timelines look like, we will be updating this post on our website, where we've been tracking what each state is doing in response to this nightmare and which states are sending out extra benefits and how they're doing all of that. As soon as I have a timeline for you on what it's going to look like in each individual state, our team will be aggregating that information, and it will either be in this article or linked to from this article so that you can track what's going on in your area and when. Because I know that getting that relief as soon as possible is super important, and I want you to know what to expect. But I have a feeling that just like with the emergency allotments that we saw going out in COVID, this schedule is going to vary wildly from state to state. And so, yeah. And of course, hopefully the shutdown just resolves and then they're able to figure it all out and then it gets easier. But in the meantime, I wanted you to know what to expect. So this is a quote from NPR. I think they said it pretty succinctly. They wrote, "The Trump administration has previously said that calculating partial payments is a logistical nightmare that could take time to arrange in the middle of a shutdown." Now, the court order did say that they have to have that figured out by Wednesday, basically, and the money sent to the states. So hopefully, I did see that they intended to send those calculation tables off to the states today. Hopefully, we'll see some movement on that. But like I said, this is the first step in a long line of steps. So just to recap, the USDA is making partial payments, but it's going to be complicated. Each state is probably going to handle it differently because some of their systems are really old. It could take days to weeks to even months to make that happen. And benefits are expected to be about half of the usual amount. Now, that concludes our bad news. Let's talk about some good news, because I don't know about you, but I am really, really ready for some good news. So the New York Times has reported that WIC has received another infusion of emergency support. So if you are pregnant or have a child under 5 in your household, you may be able to continue getting those WIC benefits. Interestingly, they are pulling that funding from the Section 32 fund that they are not using to basically fund SNAP at this time. We also know that some states are still planning to step in with emergency funds to keep families fed. In the states, which we have highlighted here on our website, we went over all of this a couple of days ago, so I'm not going to reread all of this for you. You can go check it out. I'll have Kaylee drop the link. Do you got that link in there for me? The Are You Getting SNAP This Month link, the one we've been using all week. She'll get that link in the chat for you. But in the meantime, we do know that most of these states that are providing direct relief are going to do that until the federal money hits. So if you're in one of these areas, I haven't seen any of them say that they're canceling those plans at this time, but we'll continue to update this in real time as we learn more about what's going on. So there is that. Also, a lot of philanthropists and nonprofits are joining in. We've seen, there's been an interesting article in Bloomberg about billionaires stepping in to donate to try to kind of shore up the food banks and things. Now, I know that these private efforts aren't going to replace SNAP. A lot of people can't get to food banks and there's other struggles. So I'm not going to pretend like the good news that we have here is some sort of miracle Band-Aid that's going to make this all okay, because it's not. But we're trying to find things that are at least helpful to tide you over during this difficult time. So one thing we found out today is that Propel app is going to be sending cash to some affected SNAP households. And I love these guys. I have had conversations with them over the years. I really appreciate what they're doing over there. If you're not familiar with Propel app, it used to be called Providers. And then I think it may have even had one other, like EBT Fresh, I think is what it was way back in the day. I don't know. They've gone through a couple of rebrandings. But it's an app that helps you track your balances and different things. And they have like a map of stores that can take SNAP. And sometimes they coordinate like SNAP-specific coupons from retailers like Papa Murphy's. I've seen them do that in the past. They do a lot of really good things. Now, what they're doing this time is they're planning to send out $50 gift cards to certain people who receive SNAP. Now, those gift cards are sent out through a partnership with Give Directly, which is an organization that helps facilitate a lot of like guaranteed income programs and things like that. And they're going to start by targeting households with at least 3 people in them who get the maximum SNAP allotment, because they said that's a key indicator of having 0 to low income. So if you are selected for this, you should get a notification in that app. Those cards should arrive in 1 to 2 days if you choose the virtual option. If you choose a physical card, it could take 2 to 3 weeks, but that will have a $50 balance on it to help out. So I think they said, if I remember right from what I saw, they've raised $1 million. They're trying to raise $10 million. And I'm not sure if they're going to be expanding that criteria or not. But if you're not already using Propel app, that might be something to look into, because I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time they've done something like this. I don't have that information in front of me right now, but I'm pretty sure I remember them doing something similar during COVID too. They're really good at taking care of people over there. All right. Oh, and they're not a sponsor either, by the way. I don't know if that's important to you guys that I disclose that or not, but I don't get any money from Propel. GoPuff is also giving away groceries. These guys are also not a sponsor of this channel. I just think it's really cool that they're giving away free groceries. Their intention is to give up to $50 per household away in 2 waves. So there's one promo code for November 1st through 15th that'll get you $25 off and free delivery. And then if the shutdown is still continuing from November 16th to 30th, there will be another coupon code you can use for $25 off and free delivery. And you can see those written over there. It's SNAP Relief number 1 and then SNAP Relief number 2, depending on what dates you're doing your shopping in. So hopefully that's helpful. And oh yeah, we're still in the middle of open enrollment season. So if you've got Medicare, I know the issues with SNAP feel so much more urgent right now, and you're not wrong. And if you're interested in looking at those options and really honestly comparing the plans and how they cover your doctors and your medications and those extra perks and everything else, these guys are the absolute pros at helping you figure all of that out so that you don't sacrifice any of your health care in pursuit of those shiny incentives that a lot of companies roll out during this time. So Anyway, call chapter for Medicare help, and now let's dive in to the Q&A. What do you got for me, Kaylee? Found anything?
Yeah, hold on.
She's I'm super impressed with her, by the way. She's only been doing this since last week, and she's already got like multiple tabs open, and I can tell she's talking to you guys and trying to find resources. So she's doing a great job. What do we got? Okay. Can anyone tell me if my 17-year-old niece can get her own EBT and me taking off mine? Okay, so SNAP households are really complicated. In order to count as a SNAP household, you have to live together and buy and share food together. Usually, your spouse, any dependent children you have under the age of 21, are always going to count as your SNAP household. Since it's your niece, I'm not 100% sure how that would work. I'm not a caseworker and I don't know enough about your living situation to be able to make a solid call on that. If, for example, like you're living with your niece and her family and you're not sharing food, I could see that being a separate household. If you're raising the niece, that might be a harder sell, and I don't know if that would work as well. Any idea when payments are coming and for how much? So, how much we know is going to be about 50% of what you would normally receive, so half. And then when it's coming, we don't know. It depends on what state you're in, how new and effective their technology is so that they can calculate this stuff, whether it's going to be done automatic or manually. We don't have that information yet, but I will get it to you as soon as we find out. So we get, yes, half EBT. So you're going to get half EBT. And then if you're eligible for either of the $50 offers that we have, so we have this $50 cash thing that Propel is doing. That's what the $50 was referencing. And then we also have $50 in free groceries that GoPuff is giving away. To get the stuff from GoPuff, you got to use the coupon codes. For Propel, you have to be a Propel user and meet their requirements. But that's what the $50 was about. I wanted you guys to know there was at least good news in here and that this wasn't another bad news video, because I feel like we've had a ton of those. I also want to mention, I don't know if you've got any tips really quick that you could highlight on that, but we've had people reporting today that they've gone out and used their SNAP cards and they are working as they should with their balances. So I'm glad to see that was a non-issue. And I didn't think it would be a problem, but I'm very glad to know that it's not a problem. If, on the other hand, you are having a problem with your EBT card, I would be interested to hear that as well. But for now, it sounds like most people are in agreement that it's that those cards are still working as expected. Okay. Wait, I wanted to answer that one. I didn't answer that one. Okay. All right. Thank you for letting me know that. We do have ads enabled on our streams, and I don't have a lot of control over where they go. If I turn those ads off, though, I can't pay my team, and that would not end well because we wouldn't be making very many videos. I will see if I can talk to them about making them less intrusive or adjusting the placements in some way, though. Okay, administration expenses. So the administration expenses is for the states. So the federal government helps offset how much the states have to pay to have the people staff the SNAP office, take the applications, calculate the benefits, all of those like expenses that go into administering the program. That's what they were talking about when they were saying that they were going to have to reduce it by operation or administration expenses and then divvy out what was left. All right. Yeah, so I don't have the answer to what happened to the money that was being saved. And as far as the stimulus checks go, we've heard some passing comments in the media, people who have said, oh yeah, maybe there'll be a tariff check, or oh yeah, maybe there'll be a DOGE check. But there's never been any like formal action in Congress or formal movement in government to make that happen. So that was mostly speculation, I think, and nothing official has come about those yet. All right. Any idea if we will get back pay then? That is going to that's going to depend entirely on what Congress does when they decide to reopen the government. So if they authorize the funding and they say there's going to be back pay, then there will be. If they don't, then I would imagine there won't be. The good news on that point is that there are currently 2 bills in the Senate that have been introduced to try to fund SNAP, and I believe both of them provide for back pay. So I think there's a good chance that that will happen. I just can't promise it because we won't know anything until it's certain. Okay, that's the same question, Keely.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I know sometimes it's hard to keep up when you're reading fast, but basically the same answer for that one as well. We won't know about back pay until we know what happens. And I'm hoping we'll get that news soon and that this won't go on very much longer. All right, they're not going to help seniors on SNAP. So Propel is, if you're talking about the cash offer from Propel, they're not setting any sort of age limits. They just want 3 people in the household, to my understanding. I haven't seen anything specific about seniors on SNAP yet, but I am always looking for additional assistance. And you should be able to get the GoPuff offer as well. Yeah, so Grateful Nana, it's going to be half the allotment. They're saying that's all they can afford with what's in the contingency reserves. So that's,
A lot of people
Yeah.
are saying these.
all right. Yeah, I know GoPuff isn't everywhere. Honestly, I mean, when you look at these kinds of offers, they are doing something very nice and very generous, and I'm very, very grateful for them for doing that. But it's also a PR move, right? I hadn't heard of GoPuff before this happened. They're definitely a smaller organization compared to like DoorDash, which I've used in multiple states. So I can see where on their end of things, this was a smart PR move to kind of expand their reach, but it is a disappointing thing that it's not available in more areas. We also know that DoorDash is offering to waive delivery fees on the first one delivery per household, but that's not the same sort of incentive, right? Things on DoorDash are way more expensive. That's not going to offer you the same kind of relief. So, are those guys state specific for Medicare help? Yes. Chapter can serve all 50 states, I believe is what I was told, and they can look at what is specific for your state and in your area. I did not know until I started working with these guys that there are over 20,000 Medicare plans out there. And they have information and can help you sort through all of the chaos and make the best decision for you. So that's why I love referring them, because they know they have the ability to track way more of that than my team does. So, will the judge's decision cancel out the state's plan to fund SNAP? Not that I'm aware of. So, some of the state plans said that they were going to continue administering until the federal government released SNAP. This isn't the full amount of SNAP. I haven't seen any states come out yet with a definitive plan. I think this is still pretty new for everybody. I know programs like Propel have said that it doesn't matter what the federal government does at this point. They know people need help and they're just going to continue doing their thing. We will continue tracking that. And if I find out that state plans are changing based on this information, I will absolutely let you know. So, all right. I did not get that email, but I know what that means, and I will go look for that. So thank you. Okay, are the only states that are getting help the ones on the lawsuit? No. So in the judge's decision, let me see, I have it pulled up in one of my infinite tabs here. If you give me just a second, I'll see if I can, of course I don't, because I accidentally had to restart my computer. Okay, well, when the judge came out and issued his order, he said basically that a local decision like wouldn't make sense. So it's going to be a federal thing. So, okay. Do I think the government shutdown will end after elections? I try really hard to keep my personal political opinions off this channel, both because I don't want to alienate anyone. I love everybody, and I'm pretty open-minded, but also because I don't want the algorithm to decide to react in any particular way. So I have no idea. I would hope so. I have hoped every day until this point that it would be over soon. I don't understand why we're still doing this. It doesn't make sense to me. I hope so, I guess is the best answer I can give to that. There have been so many things that I have expected to have happen that haven't happened that I have a hard time setting expectations for the future at this point. All right, Lisa Greengrass. Hi, Lisa says, will we get our SNAP in December and on? That depends on how the government shutdown goes. Basically, what they said when the USDA responded to the judge is that they are completely draining that contingency fund and there will be nothing else left in it. I wish I had a better way to jump back and show you guys the slides where that exact quote was because I really didn't like the way they phrased it. But if the government doesn't reopen before December issuances are due, I don't know what's going to happen because they said that they're not going to use Section 32 funds for it, so there wouldn't be any money there. I would assume that maybe they could file another, I don't know, maybe they can file another lawsuit and try to force Section 32, but that was kind of already addressed, so I don't know. The hope, of course, is that the government shutdown does not continue on that long. We've never had one go over 35 days. So hopefully at some point here soon, something is going to move because, yeah. All right. What is the lasagna program name again? I love that program. It is Lasagna Love, and you can go to lasagnalove.org and you can ask, it's a volunteer organization. They make lasagnas. They will deliver one to you, no questions asked, if you have a volunteer in your area, and it is an amazing thing. So that's Lasagna Love. All right. Yeah, we already answered that one, Kaylee. We don't know about back pay yet.
Okay.
We're hoping, definitely hoping and praying, and yeah, I don't know. Every indication is that there will be back pay. But that's not a guarantee. Okay, in North Carolina, cards are still working. I used mine yesterday. That's fantastic, and I'm glad to hear that. I would be interested to hear from somebody in Arkansas. If there's anybody on here who's in Arkansas and they've used their EBT card after the first, I would be really interested to hear about that experience because it was Arkansas and a couple of other states that were specifically saying you had to spend that balance. And I'm wondering if it's different state by state, but I can't imagine why it would be. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, okay. How can I send this chat page to someone? Oh, that's an interesting question. So if you're trying to share like the live chat and get somebody in here to ask a question, you can just share the YouTube link. We do enable the live chat to be replayable after the video ends because there's all sorts of people who leave all sorts of amazing tips in here. And I love you guys for that. You're always in there helping each other out. So if you share the YouTube link, you should be able to share that, the chat with them as well. Isn't this correct that everyone that receives supplementary income they do not pay for premiums on Medicare? The state does. Is this correct? So it sounds like what you're talking about is like dual eligibility with Medicaid. Because if you're on SSI, you're automatically eligible for Medicaid, and at least in most cases, I believe. Yeah, no, you got to be. Yeah. Sorry, I have a lot of information in my head right now, so I'm a little less confident on that because I don't have it in front of me. But I'm pretty sure if you've got SSI, you're eligible for Medicaid. So you're dual eligible for Medicaid and Medicare. So whatever Medicare doesn't pay, Medicaid is going to fill in that gap for you. So yes, if you are on SSI and you are paying for Medicare, there's a problem, and I would call these guys for help. But you shouldn't be paying premiums for Medicare in that case. Okay. What is Propel? So Propel is an app that you can download. It's very similar to a lot of state EBT apps in that I'm pretty sure you can even use it to freeze your benefits, check your balances, all sorts of things. They've got maps of stores that accept EBT. It's been a long time since I looked at it, but they've got a while back, they were running like coupons that were specifically for SNAP users. They got a lot of helpful stuff in there, but it is an app. It's not owned by the government. It's owned by a company, and they've been really, really helpful in the past. So yeah, they're the only non-government EBT app that I'm okay with, that I would recommend, I guess I should say. And that's just because I've talked to people on their team in the past, and they've always been pretty trustworthy. So, all right. How will this affect people who now have work requirements for SNAP and Medicaid? Will that be paused too? No. The order that was talking about those able-bodied adults without dependents waivers was specifically about the administration taking away waivers that were already in place before the deadline. It didn't address the new work requirements at all, unfortunately. So how do we find Propel? You just go into your app store on your phone. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick and show you what that would look like really quick. Oh my goodness, I have like a million notifications. We're going to ignore that because I am talking to you guys right now. So Propel, see, yeah, it's got this, I don't know if you guys can see that okay, but it's got this fun little logo right there. Here, maybe we should do it this way. I can come over here and let's see, yeah. So it's got this little logo you can see up here in the corner there. That would be what you would see in your app store. Or you can go to their website at propel.app, and there's got to be a link here somewhere where, yeah, download the free app, and you can just download it there as well. So that's Propel. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Could your daughter please type your email address in chat? Yes. It's team@lowincomerelief.com. Actually, you know what? I could type it in chat really quick. That's okay too. Just gotta make sure I don't have any typos because sometimes I get nervous on here talking to you guys. Team@lowincomerelief.com. Yep, that's it. Okay. It's in the chat for you now. Sorry, love pugs. All right.
We started, I had enough.
Oh no.
You said that.
We had a little technical glitch on Kaylee's end, so okay.
Oh, wait,
We already did that one, sis.
Oh, my goodness.
That's okay. Don't panic. Don't
I know,
panic.
I'm just trying to find it.
Let's see.
Ooh,
Ooh, I love this. Okay, Constance Campbell says, remember for Texas residents, is that HEB or HEB? I never know which way to say that because I don't have those in my area. Anyway, they're helping with food, maybe to food banks, maybe direct to you, not sure about that. But yeah, grocery stores are really stepping up and doing awesome. So let's see. Peanut butter and jelly, make sure don't forget the bread and definitely need some milk. Yep. Going back to staples is really helpful when the benefits are cut. So is California getting their benefits? Anyone know? So as a result of the ruling, everybody's going to get about half. As far as what California is doing specifically, I would refer you to this article on the website because we did a whole state by state breakdown the other day, and I don't want to make those of you who have watched all of our videos in the last week sit through the same information again. But we have all of that information here on the website, and I think Kayla's dropped that link a couple of times now, so should be good there. Let's see. Yeah. This is a good question too. So Sunshine says, if you are in one state and need to use your food stamps in another state, can you? Yes. So this is one of the big questions with all of the new state-specific waivers they're rolling out about junk food and things is how that's going to work. Because if you're in another state or if you live in a border town where you're like right next to another state, those benefits are usable in both areas. So yeah, that should not be an issue at this time. As far as how it'll work when all the new state waivers go into effect at the first of the year, then I don't know. I'm expecting we'll see some sort of an update about how that's going to work. Why do kids get SSI? Parents and kids on SSI, they make most of them. SSI is an income dependent program, so I don't. My assumption is in that case, kids are having disabilities because it's for people who are disabled. So it's also possible that what you're seeing is kids with survivor's benefits of some kind. There's all sorts of different Social Security programs, and they get really confusing, but that's the subject for another video. So let's see. If we don't get any help until after the government, yeah, we don't know about back pay yet, sis. So just so you know. Are you listening?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was making notes over here. All right, beans and rice sounds good. Beans and rice are great and affordable, which is, awesome. Let's see. Ooh, this is interesting. I haven't heard about this, Gary, about USDA forbidding merchants from giving discounts to SNAP. I have not seen anything like that. I would certainly be very alarmed if that's true because the USDA itself runs programs that give discounts to people with SNAP through things. It's the, what's the acronym? It's the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program, GUSNIP, that gives people incentives for healthy eating. So that would be a really interesting change of policy if they were suddenly doing that. I'm going to make a note to research that. Okay, I am seeing some interesting headlines about that. That is, I stand corrected. I am seeing updates from authoritative sources saying that USDA is in fact telling grocery stores not to give special discounts. And oh, that kind of makes me mad right there because it looks like here, I'll show you guys this. I'm looking at Newsweek right now. It looks like they're using that rule that you cannot treat SNAP customers differently than any other customer as the justification for that, which historically that rule has been in place to make sure that you're not discriminated against as a SNAP shopper. Telling stores that they can't use, that they can't give you discounts is really a inventive way of reading that, I think. I am going to do more research on that and get back to you when I have a better idea of what's going on there and what that scope looks like. But thank you for bringing that to my attention because I was not yet aware that that was happening. That is really not cool. Okay, so they're not going to make people work for stamps. Yes, they are. It's just that the states that already have a waiver of those requirements can't have that waiver revoked until it expires. They have to let it expire at the deadline that was already given instead of just retroactively changing their mind on it halfway through the process. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, what is the GoPuff promotion again? Yes, the GoPuff promotion is also for groceries. It's $25 off your purchase of SNAP eligible items and free delivery. So, and then there's 2 waves. You can see that information there on screen. Okay. So you're saying that if I was getting $290, yes, that is what we're saying. They're saying that they can only fund half of the SNAP allotment. So whatever it was that you would normally get, you're only going to get half of that whenever they actually process it and get that done. So, let's see. Well, definitely. Yeah. So, again, for Kaylee, you need to pay attention to this. For state-specific news, we need to go to the link on the website because we already did our state-specific roundup last week, and I don't want to make everybody watch all the way through that again. Let's see. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate how much you guys are helping each other in the comments, by the way. We're doing our best to get the trolls under control. I know that we've seen a massive uptick of those in the last couple of weeks. Let's see. Yes, so there are a lot of apps that will give you cash back on your EBT purchases, including Ibotta. I usually use Ibotta and Swagbucks because they're just the ones I like to use the best. But there are other ones as well. You can scan receipts and usually get a little bit of cash back even on your EBT purchases. And then, of course, Ibotta just does the rebates, but Swagbucks is where I go for money with surveys and things like that. And then, of course, Free Cash does paying you for surveys and games. There's all sorts of apps that'll pay you to do little things. So that's always a good thing to know about. Let's see. Yes, if you're traveling from one state to another, the system can't tell the difference between that and you like living in a border town. It's set up so that you can use your EBT card in any state. The only caveat to that is if you were shopping at a store, sometimes you might have an issue if you're shopping at a store that only exists in that state. I know, like way back when my family relied on SNAP benefits, gosh, you were just like a tiny little thing, so it had to have been like 15 years ago. You remember everything. That doesn't count. Sorry. So it had to be like 15 years ago. My family was using SNAP and we traveled out of state to visit family. And we tried shopping at a Winco when there wasn't a Winco in the state we were living in, and they couldn't take our SNAP benefits because it was a card from a state where they didn't have stores, and so they weren't set up for it for some reason. But that's the only issue I've ever been aware of as far as like out of state transactions goes. So, do we get the second half later? I don't know. That's another back pay question, and we won't know what that's going to look like until Congress makes a decision. The only reason they're doing half right now is because they're saying that the contingency fund doesn't have enough money for the full thing. So, there's no way to know, unfortunately. Are they going? Yeah, we already did that one, babe. And yeah, I'm going to have to agree with this really quick. I know my daughter won't highlight it, but I'm going to. Reindeer J is right on point here. Stop asking what my daughter looks like. I'm not going to answer you. Like, we're not doing that. Just to be clear. Sorry, we need to highlight another question before Mama Bear comes out, so we're good. Let's see. Oh, this is cool. Sunshine is saying, I saw something about Carl's Jr. in Southern California offering a dollar SNAP menu. See, this is why I'm concerned about the USDA telling stores that they can't offer discounts, because we've seen historically so many discounts for people with EBT cards, both at grocery stores and other retailers like bike repair shops. And like we have a list of like 3,000 EBT discounts on our website that we've been aggregating for almost 10 years. So that's kind of unprecedented, that change that that we just had pointed out to us. So I'm definitely going to be digging into that in greater depth. I don't like that at all. Okay. Let's see. Darling, we've already done that one.
Oh, sorry. I have to go back up because I hit the bottom.
That's okay. Bo Norton says, I work at Walmart in the meat department. Check for markdowns. That's always good advice. Markdowns, day old stuff, salvage stores, if you have any in your area. I'm a huge fan of those. We have, let me go ahead and pull this up so I can show this to you really quick. When we lived in a small town a number of years ago, there was a salvage store in our area that somebody brought me to, and it blew my mind because they had so much food there, and it was all like pennies on the dollar. And it was all fine to eat. It's not like it was bad in any way. It just was, Halloween stuff at Christmas time, or scratch and dent items, or produce that didn't look exactly perfectly, so the regular stores didn't want to sell it. And we fed our family so good for so little while we lived there because we had this store available to us. Now, they call these all sorts of different things. They call them salvage stores. They call them, wow, my brain just blinked. I can't remember what else they call them. Oh, yeah, reclamation stores, grocery liquidators. There's all sorts of different names for these stores. But we have a list here on our website if you're interested in finding them near you. Like you can just see here, we have tons and tons and tons of them listed because they're just so helpful. So, and if you have one in your area that we don't have on our list, feel free to drop a comment on that post so we can get it added, because we like to make sure that we have as much information as possible to help people out. So hopefully that would be useful to you as well. So if you have a Sam's membership or a family member can take you, if they do, they have a box of shredded chicken that I've gotten like 4 meals out of by myself. That's awesome. That is great advice. Sam's Club and Costco are both really great when you have SNAP. With Costco, you can even get the membership that gives you cash back on your purchases, and then you can get cash back at the end of the year on your SNAP purchases if you spend enough there too, which is a tip that we used when we had kids. I guess we still have kids, but when we had SNAP, and yeah, anyway. Okay. Yeah, so I know I scrolled fast. I was trying to like make the point and leave, but you're welcome to go check the list. We have a ton of information there. I do apologize for that. Oh, yes, and hey, Mrs. Alma, I did get your email. I will be responding to you very soon. It's just been a very hectic day, and I do apologize. I hope you're doing okay. Okay, let's see. Are there any other programs besides the Sonny Love Go Puff and the other one that starts with P that you mentioned? Yes. So if you haven't already, I would recommend that you go watch this video next. We did it last week, possibly the week before, probably the week before. Time is moving really fast, and we've been dealing with a lot of breaking news. But we went over all of the ways that we could find that you could get free food or extra assistance during the shutdown, and you can find all of that information in the video with that thumbnail. I don't make our thumbnails. I don't like looking at our thumbnails, but yes, that video over there will have the information that you need if you're looking for additional food assistance. So, okay. No, it's okay. I'm not bothered. I just am very, very protective of my children. You have to understand that from where I'm sitting, I've had death threats come through on this channel. I've had all sorts of crazy stuff happen as a result of the work we do here at Low Income Relief. So it's a stretch for me just to let her sit at that desk and moderate comments, because I try to keep her safe from all of the things that we've experienced here. Free legal help for people with SSI. So if you, this is another great chance to go to our website. We have all sorts of resource directories here. Let me pull up our legal aid one. So if you need legal help, depending on what your specific needs are, wow, okay, it updated, we're good. Yeah, so we have this big list here. Sorry about, we put the videos in there too for people who want to see it both ways. And then we got a lot of online tools and local tools and different things that can assist you over here. And Kaylee, if you want to drop that link down there, the legal aid link, then that would be pretty cool. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, this is awesome, Kathy. Thank you for sharing. She says, I did the lasagna love thing. They contacted me next day and yesterday delivered my meal, so it can be as little as a week. That is awesome. I know it works really fast in a lot of areas. In places where there's only one volunteer and a lot of need, sometimes it can be slower. I've had people saying that there's like a months long backlog. But I think that's because these volunteers are also, they're buying that stuff out of their own pocket. So if they're also feeling a pinch, it can be harder for them to get that done. But I'm so glad that you were able to get that assistance. That is fantastic. Let's see. Mary says, oh, it just jumped. Sorry, I saw Mary's comment. Where did it go? Do you see it? Oh, darn. Okay. With the SNAP delay, how do we get food to people who are homebound and unable to leave their homes? That is a great question. So a lot of food banks are rolling out mobile delivery. We've also seen pop-up food banks where they get boxes together and then go into a neighborhood and disperse those. And they're trying to bring the food closer to people. If you're homebound because you are elderly or you have a disability, your area agency on aging may be able to assist you. I would call either your local office or the National Elder Care Locator number to see if there's options like that in your area. That's probably the best bet for getting that kind of support. I know it's so hard to get to food banks, and it really frustrates me when people are like, oh, well, we'll just donate all this to the food banks because that'll fix it. Well, then you've got people who can't leave their homes because they're homebound, or you've got people who are working and can't make it because they're at work, but then they're being told they have to work to get benefits, and it's just so confusing, right? I know this isn't a perfect solution, and it sucks, and I'm sorry that I don't have better news for you guys on that front. Oh, cool. Yeah, just found a liquidation store up here in Port Huron that I'm going to check out. People have gotten cheaper paper goods. Yeah, those scratch and dent stores and the liquidation stores aren't limited to just food. I've even seen like TVs and stuff at them. Sometimes it's pretty crazy what other stores will just write off and not sell. It's kind of mind-boggling. But I guess it's better to donate it to a different store that's going to sell it at a discount instead of just like tossing it in a dumpster somewhere. So, always go to your favorite store early in the morning. During this time, you can get the manager special on meats. Ooh, that is a great tip, Melanie. Thank you. That's awesome. All right, what happened to all these states that found money to step up and pay November SNAP? Yes, so that, to my knowledge, is still valid. I haven't seen anything come out yet that said that isn't valid, and I will update you right away if I find out that anything about that situation has changed. We are updating the article on our website with that information as continuously as we can find new information. So I'd recommend that you go there first and then just make sure you're staying tuned to the news we're putting on the channel. I know it's an overwhelming amount of news. Yeah. All right, try to go to churches or food banks if you can. Might have to buy dollar store food. Yep, that's all solid advice. A lot of churches have food programs. Food banks are available. Dollar store food. Make sure you price compare though. Don't just assume that the Dollar Tree is your best choice. Sometimes I've seen things that are actually more expensive than they are at, say, Walmart or Winco or another retailer. So it just depends on what particular item you're getting. This is another solid tip from Gary. If you're a college student, check to see if your school has a food pantry. The college where I teach has a food pantry, and they are doing Thanksgiving bags on the 19th. That is great advice. Colleges, a lot of them are setting up food pantries. I've seen that. And I've even seen some big workplaces setting up food pantries as well. So, okay. Yes, Boost Mobile. The work requirements are still in effect. So although they've been delayed. So it's complicated, right? Because the work requirements are expanded, but they're not new. So the work requirements that were in effect are still in effect. And then as our update on, do you remember what day we talked about the work requirements? Was that Friday? I think that might have been
I
Friday.
don't remember which day it was.
Yeah, sorry. Like, there's so much news, it's hard to track. I'm pretty sure it was on Friday we talked about that the federal government has told states they have to delay the increased work requirements until 2027. Sorry. Oh no, wait, that was for Medicaid. Wow. I'm sorry. I have a lot in my brain right now. I am going to research this and get back to you because I think I am confusing programs at this point because it's just a lot. Um, Yeah, I think I just confused the Medicaid programs there. Yeah, I'll research that and get back to you. I apologize for that massive mistake that I think I just made there. We're going on an hour, and I'm probably going to have to wrap up soon because I am exhausted. We just did that one, darling. All right. If you are below 1,000 on your Social Security retirement, would we have to pay Medicare when we turn 65, or does everybody have to pay Medicare? So Medicare always has like premiums and costs associated with it, but if you meet the income requirements, then you can also get Medicaid, or there's Medicare savings programs or extra help. There's all these different little things that can help compensate for those costs. When it comes to Medicare questions, especially related to Medicare costs, I would recommend you call these guys because that's what I do when I have Medicare questions. They are awesome at evaluating all the options that are available to you and helping you figure out how you can save the most money and get the best results. So if there is an option for you, these guys will know about it. Kathy Lee says, it's a huge pan from Lasagna Love. I've bagged some and froze it for later. That is awesome. I love it. I love that that's going to help you over like multiple meals. That is wonderful to hear. Yeah, what about people with not enough gas to drive to the food pantry and no family? So there are organizations out there that provide gas vouchers. They are usually only available for people who are going to work, though. For this situation, if you have a disability, you might be able to look into some sort of like paratransit program or let's see. I know Lyft, was it Lyft Up? Is their assistance program. Sometimes they do rides for food banks in certain cities. Seniors, if you call the area agency aging or your local senior center, they may have options for you to help you get to the food pantry or get food pantry food to you in some way. Some of them offer delivery as well because of situations like this. So I would call them and have them look at your options and see what you might be able to get. Yeah, let's see. I think we probably are only going to do one or two more questions because I am like starting to get a migraine and I don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, I'm sorry, Spencer. Yeah, I wasn't not saying you're creepy. I'm just saying that I'm not comfortable with the question. If you guys can back off and be nice to him, that would be great. We don't like anyone being mean in the comments to anyone ever. That's kind of one of our nitpicky things is we want to keep this a safe and respectful place. I should not have probably highlighted the comment that I highlighted, but I had a little bit of mama bear coming out. I do apologize for that. So yeah, let's be nice to Spencer. We're all just people here. So why do most stores not accept EBT even though they sell food? That is a great question. So there is all sorts of headache involved for a retailer who wants to accept EBT cards. Because just like you have to jump through hoops to be able to get those benefits for yourself, they have to jump through hoops to be able to get the equipment to process those transactions and to get that approval. So in order to be able to accept SNAP benefits, they have to meet one of two criteria, and I don't have this in front of me. So I believe it is they have to make either half of their profit from food or more than half of their revenue from food sales, or they have to sell like a certain variety of food items. And so for example, gas stations or convenience stores that make most of their revenue selling fuel, they have to meet like a diverse amount of food that they sell, and it has to meet certain food categories. And now they're, from what I understand, trying to refine it even harder so that there's like fresh produce requirements and other stuff like that. So a lot of store owners just don't want to jump through all the hassle to try to accept those benefits, I think. So, okay. Always explain your circumstances to the food pantry because some of them absolutely will make special accommodations and deliver to you. Yes, do that. That is very important. Oftentimes, if you're unable to go, they may have a volunteer that can step up and assist you or make accommodations in some way. As a general rule, it never hurts to ask, right? The worst thing that anyone can do is tell you no. So always ask. But when you ask, I've seen a lot of people approach this wrong. So don't just be like, hey, do you offer delivery? Can you bring me food? Like, because that's not going to tell them why you need it. Everybody would prefer that convenience. You need to be very specific and be like, hey, I have been diagnosed with this, or I am age this, and this is why I can't come to the food bank. This is the situation I'm in. Can you help me? Now, you don't want to give them like a super long life story, just enough information that they can tell, first of all, that this is a real need and not just somebody who doesn't want to leave home, but also so that they can have the context to make an informed decision on that. So hopefully that makes sense. I've seen a lot of people over the years who I say something offers delivery and then they come and tell me it didn't, but it turns out it's just because of a miscommunication. So wanted to clarify that a little bit. Okay. To save money, buy frozen fruits and veggies over fresh. That is solid advice. I have been really surprised as I have been shopping lately and seeing the prices of fresh produce and things go up, that you can still get a good amount of frozen fruits and veggies for a relatively, I'm not saying it's perfect, but still a relatively reasonable price, at least in my area. So that is a very solid tip. Recreating Me says grocery outlet is good as well. I love grocery outlet. Definitely a big fan of those stores. They are fantastic. Yeah. Let's see. Do we got maybe, okay. Any farm groups giving foods? For those, I would refer you to your local gleaners clubs. And we have more information about gleaning in, where's the link? That video right there. Gleaner clubs are amazing. So, we have a lot of them in our area and they offer a lot of different types of assistance. Okay, I hate leaving before we answer every question out there. I try really hard to make sure everybody's getting their answers, but I definitely have a migraine coming on. So let's see, do you got like one or two? I know you have like a big long list over there of stuff we need to cover. Do you have anything we need to, okay. Not used to having help on here. Yeah, so the change that was rolled out should affect everybody who's getting SNAP. So even if you're a retiree, you should be able to get that, at least the half that they're going to be sending out. So maybe like one more. Oh, I see you're trying to get stuff. Let's see. This is a good question from Aisha. So when we report a user, do you get the report on the live? We don't see those reports, do we, Kaylee? I know I don't see them on my end. Do you see them? You don't see anything pop up saying people have reported them? Yeah, no, we're not seeing that on our end. We use a streaming tool, so we're not even in the YouTube interface necessarily, but we can see the chat. And we have an option in here to give them timeouts or to block them when we notice them. And she is, oh, I guess she is, she's got this. She's monitoring the chat on YouTube as well. So she's banning people in multiple places at this point. So she's got this. I'm so impressed by you. You're like 1 week in on the job and you're doing so good. Okay. Ribbon Tribute says tuna is 95 cents. Small, small brown rice, 88 cents. Dollar refried beans. That's all awesome. I appreciate that. Definitely time to be looking at staples and things. Let's see. Okay. Yes, so Kayla has informed me that she has blocked him in multiple places, and that should be dealt with. If we're still seeing those comments, it is likely some sort of technical issue. So if we're seeing new ones come through, please let us know. I'm going to highlight this one from Baby Girl really quick because she's saying it's not $50, it's 50%. And there were two different things going on when I was creating this video. So we do have the 50% that is happening for SNAP, but also that $50 giveaway both from Propel and from GoGo or not Go Puff? Go Puff? Yes. So Propel and GoPuff are each giving away $50 as well, which is why we had the two separate things in there. I realized that was confusing, and I can go edit that when we're off the live if you guys think that that would be helpful. All right, so Cynthia Adams says, what's the cookbook? So Stephanie, who's another awesome member of our team, has helped me put together this cookbook that talks about how to use staples that you will frequently get from a food bank. I've heard a lot over the years from people who get frustrated that they're getting things they don't normally cook with, like dried beans. I had no idea what to do with those. Or green beans, or ingredients that you don't normally use. And I think a lot of that comes down to people don't know what to donate to food banks. But anyway, that's a subject for a different soapbox. So this cookbook that we offer, it's usually sold as part of our merch store to help fund our team, but we're giving it away free during the shutdown, and you can just go to the link. I think Kayla's posted it a couple of times probably, where you can grab that for free. Anyway, just trying to be helpful. Let's see. I'm on Medicare A, B, but I need Medicaid to help pay for a surgery next year. Is it forever, or can I end it? So, I mean, you can always cancel your Medicaid if you want to. I don't know why you would want to if you're eligible, though, because it's so very helpful. And as far as your Medicare plan, you can change that every year during open enrollment. And open enrollment runs from mid-October to early December, which is why we're shouting out these guys in every video, because this is like your one chance in the year to make sure that you're getting the best possible benefits for you. So hopefully that makes sense. I, unfortunately, am going to have to get off of here in just a minute, because I am starting to have all of the migraine symptoms, and I don't want to fall apart here on video with you. That wouldn't be helpful to you or me probably. So I want you guys to know that I really, really appreciate you. I appreciate you being on here watching the videos and asking questions. I love that so many of you are in the chat helping each other. I think the community that we've built around this channel is probably one of the things I'm most proud of in my life, because you guys are just fantastic. And I love you guys. I know that this was disappointing. You know, we had good news, but it wasn't as good as we wanted it to be, and that's hard. But we'll continue updating you. I have every intention of being back here tomorrow, and as of right now, the item on the agenda is going over all of the November freebies and deals and ways to get extra cash and things that we found. That's supposed to be what's happening tomorrow, but of course, if some crazy news breaks, we might end up doing something different, so we'll see. But just know that we really appreciate you, and we'll continue looking for any and all help that we can find for you. We have a pretty big team going now that's looking for stuff pretty much around the clock. So hopefully we'll be able to find more goodies for you. And I can tell I'm rambling because yeah. All right. Well, I am going to go. You are wonderful, and I will see you tomorrow.